You say being loved for who you truly are is a fundamental human need. Yet so many of us are so scared to show up in this world as who we truly are for fear we won't be loved if we do. Like, it's a real thing. And just seeing a pattern of you being willing to show up as who you truly are and what you truly feel in your profession, seeing a pattern of you now sharing how you've done that in your family. You recently shared something that, you have millions of people who look up to you globally. And you recently shared a part of who you truly are that could potentially put some of that at risk. I think a lot of people are going to learn a brand new word today. You are in a throuple, right? So a couple is traditionally defined as two people in a committed relationship. A throuple is three. So can you share with me your journey of this being a part of your life, and also the part I also really want to know about is that decision of this is who I am and I'm going to share it, and why? Because so many of us fear we think if people only knew, if people knew my past, if people knew my mistakes, if they knew how out there my thoughts were, I would not be loved for who I am. It is such a fear that keeps us hiding. So can you share about, you're in a throuple.
That fear, I just want to speak to that really quickly, that comes from a real place. For many of us, a lived experience in our earliest relationships when we were dependent on some version of care being given to us to keep us physiologically alive. And when we didn't have a safe, secure, emotionally attuned caregiver, curious about ourselves as a different individual and creating the space for us to express whatever that meant for us, when many more of us have, been told directly or indirectly the things that we need to shift or change about ourselves, the things we need to do or stop doing to maintain those connections because we need it. Those connections, we will develop, as your beautiful new book kind of states, this idea that we're not worthy, we're actually quite unworthy unless we keep hiding and suppressing. And as I call it in the book, playing these conditioned selves or these versions of ourselves. So I want to honor how very real and ingrained these patterns are, why we can't just say, oh, and here maybe you and I say on this beautiful conversation, oh, it's safe to be who we are. Wired into our mind and body, at one time it was not safe. Our connections were at risk. So one of the major things I saw myself doing, which is why I was so concerned about expressing myself authentically, what will my colleagues think, expressing myself personally, telling others what I wanted or needed in relationships, was in fear of those relationships ending, people not liking me, me disappointing people. As I worked through that, because it does feel, it's not just, again, something we can affirm away. Putting ourselves out there is vulnerable. Tolerating the fear and sometimes the reaction that we fear we will get when we get that, continuing to live in alignment. I had done that. Social media was a really great practice for me. And it's quite honestly one of the reasons I created the account, was to practice authentically sharing my truth. And I'd done that for long enough and felt the difference in my body of how it feels not to have that censor in my mind, not to always be worrying about what people think, and just being able to be myself as I am. I knew what that translated to. I felt in greater flow. My relationships became deeper and more authentic. So as I was continuing on in my personal journey with my partner, Lolly, who I've now been together with for 10 years, we connected with Jenna, who became a part of the business, to be quite honest. When we opened up the membership, she was a community member who I would get familiar with people's handles very early on in the journey, because they would always be commenting, and this was someone I knew that I was very aligned with.
So she was part of your self-healers
community. She was part
community.
of the self-healer community on the Instagram account. Still a lot of members of the community from the early days I still know by handle. I love the opportunity when I get to meet them in person, and she was one of those. I saw what she was sharing, under my post on her own page. I sensed alignment. when the circle opened up, we desperately needed support. Lolly and I, that we needed someone else to help us practically run the business. She swooped in with a DM near immediately when we had put up a story telling how much we needed support in a given moment. And she became part of the business. And we all ended up living in the LA area and spent some now in-person time together. And as the relationship continued, it became clear to the three of us that there was deeper feelings happening. It's funny when I hear you say throuple too, this was not a word that I had ever heard about in a million years. I had never thought about a polyamorous or an open relationship. I never thought about a relationship outside of the relationship that I was in with Lolly, though each of us personally committed to being who we are and to speaking what was on our heart as we became aware that what was on our heart was interest in seeing what was possible in terms of a professional relationship, evolving the relationship, of course, spending several months now in what I call an expanded relationship, all Googling, oh, can you do this? What is this? Turns out it's called a throuple. And at the time we were recording podcasts together, Jen and I. So we're still working together, sharing much of our individual journeys. We're running the circle together where we, present things quite often, sharing our journeys. And here was another moment where it started to feel misaligned, where like when I was in that treatment room, oh, I have all of this holistic information and I'm not sharing it. This doesn't feel good. I don't feel like I'm in my flow. I was starting to feel that way professionally. Oh, I'm leaving out or I'm kind of modifying parts of my conversation because I'm not yet out in this way. And to speak to your point, worrying, what would people think, knowing it's not a traditional relationship, knowing that some people would reject it and see me in the work differently. What was more important for me at that time was continuing to live authentically. So making the decision to come out, if you will, a second time now on Instagram and let the community know so that I could speak more freely, so that as people were starting to see me publicly and come up and say hi, I didn't have to worry about how I was presenting myself. And of course, there were people who did not accept it in some ways. And there were so many more who accepted it with open arms, who acknowledged and appreciated my ability to speak my truth. And I think this applies even outside of, our truths in our relationships. Not everyone is going to go on a journey of opening their relationship, though. The beautiful point you made earlier, so many of us know what's on our heart. And we don't make the choice to speak it, or we don't make the choice to be ourselves in any given context. And my hope for sharing this part of my more intimate journey is giving us all the permission to listen to what's on our heart. It's a very powerful part of our individual experience, and giving each of us the courage to learn how to live in that authentic self-expression.
I know in your new book, which we'll talk a lot about, How to Be the Love You Seek, you share that Jenna came to you and Lolly and kind of sat with you each separately one-on-one and shared how she was feeling, right? So here's someone working for you guys. And then she shares, and then you guys kind of took some time to see how you felt. Did you before that already have those thoughts? Like, did you already have those feelings that that were stronger than just a professional relationship or a friendship?
Yes, though I would not have allowed them to be in my conscious mind before I even entertained, oh, what's happening here, right? That censoring part of me would have said, oh, well, this can't happen here.
Yeah.
For business reasons, because we are shared in vision and in purpose, the three of us, in terms of service to the community and all of the opportunities at the way that we're able to serve on such a grand scale. So the business part of me would be like, oh, I don't want to mess up that relationship. The professional part of me very much coming, through a conditioned system, myself operating in relationships where I wouldn't even entertain attraction somewhere else. Because for forever, I took that to mean, oh, this must mean that this isn't the right partner for you. If you're looking over here or if you're, able to have emotional needs met outside of your relationship, then this must mean something about your relationship. And so for me, really, and one of my hopes of this work is if you do have that conditioning, all of you listening, I think attraction is a normal thing. Whether or not you act on it is another choice entirely. I think that we're driven to exist in community, in groups. This is one of the reasons why the circle now exists, meaning it is a very large and unrealistic expectation that some of us put on one person to meet all of our physical and emotional needs. And I think the more we can expand outward and develop friendships with shared interests, develop other people that we can go to when we need support, I think that that can only expand our ability to feel supported and to be connected in our community. I would have maybe had aversion. I mean, there was attraction there, of course, though I wouldn't have allowed myself to engage with it because I would immediately have worried what that meant about my relationship with Lolly. So I'm indebted to Jenna. She's always been someone, we come from very different backgrounds and very different paths that led us to working together and now being in a personal relationship, though her path has always been heart-led, heart-driven. She was always very clear. So her courageous moment of coming to both of us and acknowledging without any expectation of what the two of us would think or do with the information was so relieving because it did give language to something that was beneath the surface for all of us. And it also opened then the possibility in a way that I don't know if I would have entertained it myself.
So you're saying for people right now listening who might be in a relationship, maybe a marriage for decades, or maybe a newer relationship, if they have these sort of thoughts that, or these attractions outside of their relationship, that it's not necessarily an indication that they're in the wrong relationship.
In my opinion, no. I think that human beings, are and can be attracted naturally, even to different aspects of personality, of a relationship beyond just physical features. And I also know, like I said, that we're wired to exist in groups. I think a lot of the ways we're living now is quite unnatural. In separate homes, some of us even completely in distance from our families or our supportive communities, being made to move for work or for whatever reason. And I think we need more than one person at any given time. Because I think, again, not only do we put an unrealistic expectation on one partner to be available to us at any given moment, I think that some of us look and feel like if we need support, this person needs to be there, especially if they're our primary person.
And they're failing us if we're not getting everything we need.
And the reality of it is, and I've come to embody this reality, because I am like that too. If I need you, I want you to and expect you to not only read my mind that I need you, but to be able to have the energetic and emotional resources to give me support in any given moment. And that's, I think, kind of removing the reality of all of the other factors that are impacting someone else's life, even if it's our person. They might have something going on outside of our relationship with their family, with their work. They might have something going on personally on a deeper level, even within our relationship. And they might not be able to give the support that we need in any given moment. So now we're creating such a conflict, because it's not to say that our need isn't real. We do need support. And if the person that we're depending on isn't able to give us the support, and we either are demanding it or indirectly, trying to force it to be the case, now neither person feels good, because one person feels abandoned when they need support, and the other person feels like they're letting the person that they love down.
That's so powerful. So many people live in resentment.
Right.
Yeah, because they feel like their partner's not meeting their needs. I know a lot of people get those needs met through their faith, through their relationship with God, or through friendships, etc. And this is, do you think as humans, we should not be, are we wired to not be monogamous? But is it socially conditioned belief systems or perhaps faith belief systems that sort of have us in this expectation that we should be?
That's a really interesting question to consider. I do think we all need support outside of one individual, whether or not that means we enter into a primary or a kind of physical, committed, the type of relationship I think that we're defining as monogamous. I don't think that that is on everyone's journey, though what I believe needs to be are other people around to help relieve, whether it's just the general labor that goes into running a family, especially when children are involved, the emotional needs of support that we have in any given moment. And I'm hopeful because I'm seeing we're not going in any new direction. We're almost going back to the way our ancestors had lived and had survived and thrived and allowed us to thrive as a species. And I'm seeing a lot of movement in terms of, schooling options where families or parents get together and, like homeschool children in a more community-based setting. I'm seeing more community-based living environments popping up. And I think that will allow us to be supportive of more people and get the support that we need when one person is unable to show up in any given moment.
Jamie Kern Lima is her name.
Everybody needs Jamie Kern Lima in their life.
Jamie Kern Lima.
Jamie, you're so inspiring.
Jamie Kern Lima.